Hey guys, thanks so much for joining today. Today we have the pleasure of interviewing Supervisor Jane Kim. No, we are not related. She represents District 6 in San Francisco. That encompasses the Tenderloin, Soma, Civic Center, and parts of the Mission. Prior to serving on the Board of Supervisors, she actually served on the Board of Education, where at one point she actually was president. She is a proud Stanford grad, then went on to Cal to get her law degree. And I know that she has a deep love for music and food, so let's get to know her. Kim, thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Yeah, thank you for having me over.
I'm sure you've had a tremendously busy weekend.
I have.
What do you usually do on the weekends? Is it catching up on sleep, Korean dramas, eating at some restaurants that you can never get into?
Yeah, so if I can sleep in the mornings, I always make up for sleep. I like to get, my 10, 12 hours if possible on my Saturdays and Sundays. But usually it's a mixture of work, going to community events, and then if I have free time, I love to catch up with my friends, do laundry, clean my house.
Like the boring stuff.
The boring stuff. The boring stuff is exciting for me.
So you're doing a job that takes so much of your life. Why? What drives you? I mean, like you said, like you don't get to catch up with friends that much. It's hard to catch up with family. Just the most mundane stuff is hard to do. Why do you do it?
So, well, one is that I actually really love what I do, and I think it's such a blessing to love your job, and as tough as this job can be, and even though there are days that are really, really challenging, I still wake up every morning and I get to say that I serve my city. I serve a district that I love, the South of Market, the Tenderloin, and Treasure Island. Yeah. And there are days that I get to really help people, and sometimes it's hard to help people. Right. And that's what makes the job hard. But I really do love what I do, so it's worth it.
And where does that come from? Were your parents public servants? Do you have a long lineage of people that just ran for office? Like, where did this come from?
So I might be the first member of my family to run for office. Okay. Obviously, I don't go that far back, but I don't know anyone in my family that has run. Yeah. My parents often ask me where this came from. Yeah. I do think, in a different time or place, my dad would have loved to have done this. He immigrated to the U.S. Yep. And I think that he felt like this was not an opportunity that was open for him. But now that I'm in office, he's so excited about it. He puts me on his Google newsfeed. If he knows that I'm working on a tax policy or on pedestrian safety, he'll send me articles about other politicians and other states.
Sounds like a very typical Korean parent.
It's awesome.
Way on top of it and constantly sending you more information that you probably need, but you just get it.
He sends me so much information, but it's cool. It's cool to be able to connect with my dad that way.
Absolutely. Do you feel like you're the first and only Korean supervisor in the city of San Francisco? What about your heritage do you think brings a unique perspective? Like being the first Korean, and I'm being Korean, we grew up a certain way. How does that affect the way you take this job?
Well, I think I came in with a couple of traits. I don't know if it's from my background or how I was raised, but one, I spend a lot of time listening, and that's part of my job. I've also learned to talk a lot. But I know that a great deal of the work that I do is listening to our constituents and being patient and just really hearing them through the feedback, the questions, the things that they'd like me to work on. But even listening to folks who have projects that they want to bring in. Yeah. Two, actually coming and being raised in an immigrant family, I think was really important. When I was campaigning for supervisor in 2010, people would straight up ask me, they're like, you're Asian American, why would you care about me? I was asked that by African American voters, by Latino voters. Interesting. And I talked a lot about how I feel like my story has commonality with theirs, that my parents immigrated here. Sharing those stories I felt like was really important, and this is why I care that we all succeed. Right. Right.
So District 6 is, I think, probably out of all the districts in San Francisco, one of the most dynamic, and also the one that's changing the most.
Absolutely.
Got a lot of development. What do you think, where do you see your district in the next 10, 20 years?
Yeah, so John Ram, who is our planning director, said that 80% of the development in San Francisco is happening in 20% of the city. Wow. And I would say most of that 20% is in District 6. District 6, yeah. The South of Market, Mission Bay, Treasure Island, Mid-Market are all places that are constructing at a fast and unprecedented clip. Right. And to even just give you a sense of the last 10 years, between 2000 and 2010, 25,000 residents moved into District 6. Wow. And obviously that is going to continue probably at even a higher rate for the next 10 years. Yep. What is exciting about representing a district that is changing is that I get to be a part of developing complete neighborhoods. So not only are we building new offices and new residents, but I get to have a say in how we build out our streets.
Right.
Making sure, advocating for more parks, making sure that we're building complete neighborhoods that people enjoy living in, enjoy walking in. And I'm hoping that we can be a model of density for the rest of the city.
Is there a particular project that you love or that you're most interested in seeing?
There isn't a particular project that I'm interested in the most. I think I'm fascinated by all the puzzle pieces of putting our district together.
Yeah.
And so as each different development comes online, you know, particularly like in Rincon Hill and Transbay where we have so much open vacant land, is fitting it all together and making sure that it's a connected neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so I'll give you two examples. We're working on the 2nd Street Improvement Plan, and this is connecting Market all the way to King to the ballpark.
Okay.
And so we're saying we want this to be like Valencia. This is the corridor that people are going to walk up and down, that people are going to bike up and down.
Yeah.
So many streets in Soma are dedicated to cars.
Right.
Right. So we want this to be the neighborhood corridor.
Got it.
From Market to South Park to the ballpark.
Gotcha.
Folsom Street is another corridor we're working on. We want to connect Folsom all the way from the water all the way to the Mission.
Wow.
And we want to be able to say that these neighborhoods are all connected and this is a corridor through which you can transit.
Gotcha. So you're basically playing street Jenga. You're just kind of like building a mini city here.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It is exciting.
And do you have favorite spots in your district, like favorite places to eat? If you can go right now, give a recommendation to people.
Well, after this, I'm going to go to Turtle Tower for my favorite pho.
Yeah.
There's 2 in our district, one in the Tenderloin on Larkin and one on 6th and Harrison, close to where I live.
Yeah.
I love Folsom Street. I live on Folsom and 6th.
Okay.
So I love going to Citizen Band, to Sight Glass, to Radius, to Pinky's Bakery. And of course Deli Board for some really good grub sandwiches and going to the park there.
Awesome.
I also, I love the Tenderloin. It's, for all of the stereotypes and all the challenges that it has, it's a truly compassionate and wonderful neighborhood with tons of families, kids, and seniors. Yeah. And so I do go there a lot for my Vietnamese food.
Great.
And also for Hooker's Sweet Treats. They make amazing chocolates.
Wait, what is this? Where is this?
Hooker's Sweet Treat.
Okay.
It's on Hyde, and they actually make their chocolates and caramel on site in the Tenderloin.
Really?
And they sell them at Sight Glass.
Oh, we're gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Wow. Okay, and then aside from that, favorite places to have food just in the city.
Okay, so I said Turtle Tower.
Yep.
Tin Restaurant has amazing Vietnamese food.
Yeah.
I also love going to La Rosse Thai in the Tenderloin in Hayes Valley for Thai food. I love Sight Glass actually, even though I don't drink coffee.
You don't?
No, I don't. I don't drink any coffee, but I love the space and I love their hot chocolate.
Interesting. And then you were also very passionate about music.
Yes.
Tell us, how did that start?
Since I was really young, I've always loved music. And I played piano, of course, like any good Korean American kid. Of course. And then after I graduated from college, I decided to teach myself bass guitar. Wow. Because I always, the bassist was always my favorite in jazz. Yeah. In jazz quartets or trios. So I love modern jazz quartet. I love Marcus Shelby here in San Francisco. He's a bassist. And that's why I decided to do that. And I was actually in a band. I had 2 bands. I had an all-women band called Strangely. Okay. And we actually played only in District 6. Wow. We played at Brainwash, Bindle Stiff, and Somarts. Okay. And then I also had an all-Korean American band called Swollen Faces. And we never, it was just a jam band. We never played live. And you never played live? Swollen Faces never played live. I think people kind of need to see Swollen Faces. But Strangely definitely got to play live. We actually have old video footage of us at Brainwash. And what's the name? Why Swollen Faces? Because the stereotype of Korean, gotcha. Our high cheekbones and our wide faces. Got it. And so it was their fun idea. And we just used to jam on Friday nights, and we would drink, makgeolli and soju. The good stuff. The good stuff. And then we would go out later. This is, of course, in the much, much younger days when you go out at midnight. That's right. When that was the early beginning of the night. Yeah. So do you think if you weren't a supervisor, you would be in music? I started as a community organizer, and I did a lot of work in public education, and I think if I wasn't supervisor, that's the arena that I would be in. But if I didn't do community work or politics at all, I would love to be in music. Wow, okay. And we're going to finish it off with a question that I think a lot of people want your opinion on, which is, I think the young generation feels that they want to give back, but sometimes they have this question of,
should I go into the public sector, and is that where I can make the biggest difference in my life, or the private sector where I can have a little more freedom to do stuff and there may not be as much bureaucracy?
Right.
Do you still think that young people can make a difference in the public sector, and if so, what's the best way to get them involved?
Well, I think it's really important that people who want to make a difference are in all sectors.
Mm-hmm.
We're never going to change, our community, our city, if the only people that are making change are in government or in the nonprofit sector. But I absolutely believe that's still a route that you can take. And I know that if I wasn't serving an elected office, that I could still serve in the nonprofit sector, in the Unified School District, that there's so many ways for me to continue to give back. But I also think it's important for folks in the private sector to be engaged. We don't all have the resources to get it done. Everyone's going to need to come together, whether we're going to combat homelessness, build more affordable housing, have better public transit. And so I always encourage folks in the private sector to consider joining boards of directors of really quality nonprofits that they can help support, build greater connection to, and also create greater awareness around the issues. I also think it's great to be a regular volunteer. It's hard when you volunteer just once, but if you volunteer once a month even, you're going to make an impact that way. And you're also building a relationship, with folks that you don't know that live in your neighborhood, live in your city.
That's right. And I think there's no shortage of opportunities in this city to be able to give back, right?
Yeah. I mean, a good example is you. You serve on the board of Glide, and they do amazing work in the Tenderloin. But if not for you and other members of the board, they couldn't continue their work. And it's amazing, rewarding work. It doesn't even actually feel like work. It just actually feels like an extension of your life. And how amazing is that Warren Buffett supports Glide? Really? Pretty cool. Yeah, it's impressive. He allows them to expand their services and their work. Yeah. Well, I want to just say thank you for taking the time. And then, just for fun, we're going to finish off the interview with Rochambeau, best 2 out of 3. Okay. But we'll do it Korean style, which is Kai Bai Bo. Ready? Okay, 2 out of 3. Ready? Kai Bai Bo. Kai Bai Bo. Okay, ready. That's 1. Wait, 2 out of 3. Oh my gosh, we have to do it 3. Okay. Ready? Kai Bai Bo. Okay, tied.